Hey YouTubers, so today I want to change the water pump on this 1.8 TFSi Audi A4B8 2014 model. I've seen a lot of clips on YouTube showing how to do this, but these seem to be all the 2-liter versions, and for example, I can already see the intake pipe here is slightly different than the 2-liter model, so I thought it would be cool to just do a 1.8. There's a lot of information about the 2-liter but not the 1.8, so I hope you can learn something from this. In the interest of keeping the video short, I'm not gonna show everything as I go along. First thing I'm going to do is remove this bottle. It just literally clips out here. Use a flat blade for that. Clips out and the pipes just unclip. There's one at the bottom, and then there's also electronic connector at the bottom that needs to be undone, and these two bolts. Okay, so you can see I've undone it. It just lifts up. At the bottom here there's another just a clip. The pipe pulls off, and this just push down and unplug the push down on this part here and just unplug the wire. Okay, the next step is we need to take off the throttle body. That's this circlip here to remove the pipe, and as I remember correctly, there's 4 of these Torx bolts that you need to undo. Okay, so I've taken off the intake pipe here. It just wiggles off. Not too difficult, but the problem is this goes all the way down. A lot of the cars that I saw has a clip over here where you can actually remove the pipe, but this one doesn't, and it's quite rigid, so I've just moved it to the side, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward. Just those 4 T30 Torx bolts. There's the throttle body. I like to put my nuts and bolts and screws back in their old place so that I don't end up losing them, but already we can see that we're getting access to the water pump over there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these electronic couplings. They just slide out and then we unclip them and move them out the way, and then start removing these pipes. They also work on the same clip principle. Clip comes off and the pipe really just pops off. Right, so we've got a bracket there where the plugs were. I'm just going to undo that. My guess is probably also a T30, and just unscrew that, get that out the way. So this little plug confused me at first. What you need to do is pull this out. It's a bit difficult with one hand. Pull this out and then push this down there to unplug that. That caught me out a little bit. Alright, next step, I'm going to remove these hoses on the water pump, the in and out, and then there's also this one that needs to be removed, but we'll get to that one in a moment. Right, so the bottom one came off pretty easily, but the top one was pretty stuck. So what I did was I removed the clip completely, and then it just popped off. Okay, so this one seems to be the same. It's also just a clip that undoes, and we can pull that one off. Right, so the next step is to remove the cover, which is a bolt over here and a bolt down there at the bottom. So what I found was I had to just first remove the wire off that sensor over there, because the cap is pushing against that. Right, so the cover really just slides out. You got to wiggle it a little bit. Just have a look there with a flashlight, but it just slides out. It's not a problem. So the next one is to remove that belt, and most of the guys that I saw just use a flat belt or a 90-degree hook. I don't like the hook because it can damage the belt, so I'll just use a flat blade to take that off. Right, that flat belt came off really easy. It just slides off. It's not a big deal. So the next thing is to get these 3 bolts out, 1, 2, and the third one in the back there. I can't remember if there were any more, but we'll remove those 3 and see how it goes. Right, I found there were 2 more bolts. It was the one that was I showed over here in the back, and then there's one right in the back there. So now you can see the pump is loose. So now I'm going to take it out. Right, I got the pump out. Last one remaining is just this on the sensor. To remove that from the pumps that I saw on YouTube, this one looks different. This one definitely looks different. So I think the 1.8 TFSi is most certainly a different setup, but the procedure remains the same. All right, so here's the water pump. Here you can see the screws 1, 2, 3, and at the bottom there 4 and 5. Those are the 5 bolts that keep it connected to the engine. I finally figured out what the problem is with this one. Here you can see the water has been leaking out, and this you can actually pick up, and let's just get to focus. Inside here, so it was clear that the bearing has obviously gone, and the sealing isn't working anymore. So that's the problem. So there's a choice to just maybe replace the pump itself. Nothing's wrong with the rest, but I'm going to seek some professional opinion about this. Depends if I can get these gaskets loose, and whether they recommend that we just replace the whole unit and get finished. Okay, so I got a professional opinion on the water pump. They recommend that we just replace the whole thing and get done with it, because this thermostat and stuff can also give a lot of issues going forward, and then you have to remove it and do the whole job again. So I'm going to replace it. I've got a Boschong water pump, new union, and I'm going to try and put all of that stuff back together again. Right, so I've decided to change the little belt in there as well. It's not that difficult. Just remember that this is a left-hand thread, so it gets opened to the clockwise side. Okay, so the kit also comes with a brand new bolt. Don't use the old bolt again. People, you've got to be so careful. There's a hole there that goes into the flywheel. Do not drop the bolt into that hole. You will have to take out the whole gearbox. So yeah, be careful with that one. Okay, I cleaned up the ports using a 800 grit, maybe even 1000 grit would work. Tied the pulley in. Remember, left-hand thread. So time to put the water pump back. Everybody recommends just putting a tiny bit of grease on, or some sort of lubricant onto these seals just to get them in. I'm going to put it on both sides and then slide it in. Alright, I've got the water pump is back in. Tie down all the 5 bolts, put the water hose clamps back on, the hoses. So now it's time to get all of these electrical connections connected up. Right, once the pump's in, don't forget to put the cover on the belt. Something to be careful of, I pinched off this wire when I put the pump back in. So it cost me taking that switch apart and soldering that wire back in there. So yeah, be careful, there's so many wires. Rather undo, I never undid this plug, rather undo as many of the plugs as you can to remove all the wires so that you don't damage any of them. I've basically put all of this back together again. I still need to do the throttle body. And then this bottle of mine is so coked up. As you can see inside, you can't even see the level anymore. So I got some radiator flush, I'll show you how. I'm going to fill up the radiator with water and put the flush in, and then run that for about 10 minutes. Right, throttle body is back on. These 4 screws and hose clamp tightened. I don't have a vacuum pump. I'm going to try something unorthodox. I'm going to put a hose in here and see if I can put as much water into the system as I can. Before connecting the bottle, I'm going to use the old bottle to do the flushing. And then once that's done, we need to drain the system again. And we're going to then fill it with coolant. Right, that worked quite a treat. I used the hose, pumped water through, and it came out of this pipe at the top. A lot of rubbish actually came out as well. I've just filled the bottle with some water, and we're ready to start. Let's see how this goes. Right, so far so good. Water level hasn't dropped too much, so it looks like it's pumping. And I don't see any water or anything leaking out the back. So it's looking good. I bought this radiator flush from Shield. I'm going to just before the engine gets too hot, drain a bit of this water again, make space for this, and then put the coolant in, and then run the engine for 10-15 minutes. Alright, I can see the engine's on temperature, and definitely the temperature's not going up over 90, so that's looking good. Now I'm just going to leave it. I think what I've decided to do is I'm just going to drive it like this to work today, get this thing circulating properly. And then this evening I'm going to tap the water and do the coolant. So my mechanic dropped me completely. I wanted to have the coolant vacuum pumped in, but yeah, he's just not getting back to me, so I'm just going to do it myself. First thing we have to do is we have to remove the cover underneath the engine. Then I'm going to undo the pipes. That's down there at the bottom, but difficult to see. Going to undo the pipes down there and up here. Also using the normal flat plate clips. Drain the coolant, and then I'm going to see how I'm going to get all of the air out the system. Okay, the plate comes off quite easily. It uses these big screws. They unscrew very, very easily, and the three in the back don't even fall out. They just stay in there, and now we've got the bottom open. Right, so at the bottom here, there's actually a place that you can, just open that valve, and the water will come out. And that's all that I'm going to basically do. Apparently it's a 90-degree turn, but it's, there we go. And nothing happens. Alright, let me see what's going on. I've taken off the top, the cap, but I don't know what the story is. I've turned that valve open and nothing's happening, so I'm going to just unclip the pipe and pull it off. Okay, as I said earlier, my bottle is all dirty. I bought a new bottle, so I'm also going to put a new bottle into this. And I was thinking about getting the air out of the system. I'm going to take off the top pipe as well. And it dawned on me, I don't have a vacuum, but I've got a compressor. So I'm just going to put the fluid into the bottle and see if I can, from the overflow side, see if I can push some air back in there to get the radiator filled from the bottom. So I've taken a hose and I pumped it through the radiator. See, the water comes out at the bottom. The thing is, the thermostat, as far as I understand, would be closed at this moment, so you don't get full water circulation. So I've blown water into all of the pipes. The top one's no problem, that comes out at the top. The bottom one is an issue, that one's closed. So filling the radiator is going to be quite tricky. I'm going to have to see if I can get something that I can try and top it up from the new bottle. Comes with some plugs in. We're just going to remove those and move that rubber over there. Bottle's in place, and I'm going to compress air, blow through this hole, see if I can get the air going out, probably while the engine's running, because if that thermostat's closed, then nothing's coming out at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm closing up this this hole, this cap. I've opened up the top hose. I remember last time when I flushed the system with the hose pipe, the water started coming out at the top there, and I'm going to just put compressed air into this overflow and let the water come out until the coolant comes out. Since my air compression method worked, the valve hasn't fallen much, and I can see and tell that it's pumping. When I remove this clip, this hose, you can see every now and then there, you see it's pumping, Obviously the thermostat isn't completely open yet, so I think we're going to take it for a quick drive around the block, and then let it flow properly. Also check the temperature. It's on temperature now, and it's not overheating or anything like that, so I think it's good. Something else to not forget is to turn the heat on high so that the water can circulate those radiators as well. Right, so you can see the fluid levels are nicely stabilized. I've been driving the car now for 2 or 3 days, and everything's nice and dry, no issues there. So let's quickly summarize what we had to go through. Remember, somewhere in the middle there's that little plug with the grey clip. You pull it back, push it down, then remember that these clips, like the one here on the pipe, if the pipe doesn't want to come off, just remove the whole clip, and it should come off. In the back there's the flywheel hole. Be careful that the bolt that on that little belt doesn't fall into that hole. Wires, I broke off that wire. Remember just to unplug as many of the plugs as you can and get the wires out the way. The throttle body, close up the pipe and the intake into the engine with something that you just don't get dust into there. I used the water hose to blow out the rubbish from the radiator. You can pump it into that pipe as well, and also through the pipe at the bottom there, and then the water will come out at the top there. I had a lot of rubbish that came out there as well, so flush the system with some water before you fill with coolant. Then the compressed air, I use the compressed air into this overflow nozzle, unclip this pipe. Just remember to keep your finger or something there to block the air coming through, and the coolant went down pretty neatly. It clearly did go into the system, and then remember to turn the air conditioner on so that you get the hot water circulating inside of the radiators for the air conditioning. And in total I used about 6 liters of coolant. I think this engine uses between 6 and 7, so that means I definitely did get most of the water that was in the system out. And then yes, if you learned something from this video, give me a thumbs up. If you feel I made a mistake somewhere, please help me rectify that so that we can help the community get their cars fixed. I hope this was a useful video for you. In the end, it wasn't too bad a job. I was quite daunted in the beginning, but it actually turned out pretty easy. So yeah, I hope you guys come right. I hope you enjoy this video.